And then every time there's a change in election, you have to go back and try again. One of the things that I've learned is that all the problems and issues that exist in one administration get reinvented as soon as there's a new administration. Because it didn't work for us the last time, but we got a new guy in here. Let's try it again. So we began working on how can we get a better way of measuring our projects, determining what we ought to do, set our priorities, and get the best return on investment. And I think we're doing well. We've had other states come to Ohio and talk to us about the track. So we have the right structure. So I was gone for 12 years. I come back. I go to my first track meeting, and we have Tier 1 and Tier 2. Tier 2 is overprogrammed by $11 billion. We're worse than we were back in '91. We are going to get that in balance. We're working at that right now. And for some of you and for some of your colleagues around the state, that may mean bad news. But we're not going to continue to perpetuate a program that holds out a promise that is completely hollow and unkeepable. Is that a word? Unkeepable? So we're going to try to get that in balance. And one of the ideas that we have is if we get that in balance, then you can go back to your community and say, look, we're going to have more private money. We're going to have more local money. We're going to have to make our project less expensive. We're going to need to find a way to get this done rather than just sit in the queue and wait and wait and wait. The value-based design build authority that's contained in the transportation bill is a very valuable tool. And it will not only move projects, but we believe it will result in very significant savings. The Interbelt Bridge here in Cleveland is a great example of how we can use that increased authority. This bridge isn't just about building a nice bridge for Cleveland. It's about improving safety and increasing efficiency to get people and goods to their destinations. We're challenging our contractors and our engineers around the state to develop time savings, money savings, and innovative project delivery ideas, and I'm confident they will deliver. Now, I know I haven't painted a very pretty financial picture. I'm just being honest with you about what the facts are on the ground. But no matter what the outlook, the Ohio Department of Transportation is going to continue to stay the course and work the best we can to be efficient, effective, and get the most value for a dollar that we spend. I happen to believe that cooler heads will prevail, that there are some statesmen in Congress that they certainly don't intend to let our national infrastructure fall apart. And that therefore there will be some statesmen rise to the top and say we need to do something. And in the short term, and when I say short term, sometime in the next 5 years, we'll get a new reauthorization bill that will be well funded and robust and perhaps provide us more flexibility than we've had in the past. One of the things we've been saying through AASHTO to the members of Congress is if you're going to cut the money, you got to cut the red tape too. We have projects where there's 10 or 20% federal money, but we still have to meet the federal regulations. And we're going to look for ways, at ODOT at least, to hold ourselves accountable to ourselves and our workforce, accountable to the people of Ohio, and accountable to the people in this room. A couple weeks after we took office this time, I had an interview with a reporter from the Columbus Dispatch, and what he wanted to do, the spin on his story was, when you hear before you had more money, we really didn't have more money, but we had more buying power. And now you're back, and it's a crisis in financing, and everything is different now. So how are you going to govern different? How are you going to approach this different? And the answer is not at all. The values and the principles of good government are the same, whether you have a lot of money or a little money. And to some degree, some of you won't want to hear this, to some degree, I think it's sometimes good for government to have less money so that they can get more creative. They can become leaner and more efficient and more effective. In order to ensure that we're doing things right, we're beginning to develop some new metrics to measure our results. And I'm talking about real results, not activity. And we're not only going to apply these metrics to work specifically by ODOT, work that's done by ODOT, but we're also looking to ask our partners at the local level to do a better job in measuring their results. Results over resources. In other words, what kind of return on investment is the public getting from NOACA? In the short term, we're all going to have to do more with less. 400 years ago, Queen Elizabeth I asked Sir Francis Bacon, what's the most significant key to greatness for a nation? His answer was easy conveyance of men and goods from place to place. easy conveyance of men and goods from place to place. That could easily be ODOT's mission statement. Our transportation, and therefore our department, impacts everybody's life every day. We impact their safety, their economy, and their quality of life. The Ohio Department of Transportation is a $2.8 billion annual enterprise. Our responsibilities touch everyone and every place in our great state. With that kind of responsibility, it follows we need to be responsive and productive. We need to be an organization worthy of the public trust, providing great public service, doing things right, and doing the right things. And as I said in the beginning, all too often with government, we're so focused on doing things right, covering our tails and avoiding risks that we lose sight of doing the right things. I like to tell a little football story that explains the difference between doing things right and doing the right things. The high school football team, big game coming up Friday night. First string quarterback is hurt, but the coach is not too worried about that because the second string quarterback is a good player. He plays in practice, he's played in games, he's going to be okay. But he is very concerned because the third string quarterback is brand new, he never plays in practice, he's never been in a game, he doesn't know what he could do. Gets to Friday night, we have the big game, and it's close in a very close game in the third quarter, and the worst happens. The second string quarterback gets hurt, comes off the field. Coach calls up the third string quarterback and says, son, I want you to go out there and run a quarterback sneak 3 times, and then drop back and punt. Young man says, I can do that. He goes out there and breaks away for 22 yards on the first quarterback sneak. Calls another quarterback sneak and breaks away again for about 30 yards. After the third quarterback sneak, it's 1st and goal on the 4-yard line. A young man goes in a huddle, drops back, gets the ball, and punts it into the stands. Of course, the fans are going crazy. The coach is going crazy. He's completely ballistic. He meets him halfway out in the field, screaming at him, what are you thinking? What could you possibly be thinking out there? Young man looks the coach right square in the eye and says, I'm thinking we got to have the dumbest coach in the world. When I came to ODOT this time, I made a commitment and asked our staff to join me in looking inward. I said to everybody that we interviewed, everybody that we hired, you're not coming to work at ODOT. You're coming to work on ODOT. And I challenge each of you to do the same. Look inward at your organization and ask yourselves and your staff the tough questions regarding how you can make it better, how you can be more productive and get faster, less expensive results. Ask yourself, how are we doing? How are we adding value? How are we adding value at the retail level? Not how much paper are we producing. How are we adding value at the retail level? This is a challenge, but if we do our job well, we can be confident that we are responsible stewards and we're very worthy of the public trust. I'd like to leave you with one more thought, and that is this. ODOT does not suck. We are a qualified, passionate group of professionals, and we're on our way to becoming the standard of excellence for state departments of transportation in this country. Thank you. Be happy to try to take some questions, and I'm happy to always take answers. So, yes, sir.
Director, I was going to ask this to the last panel, and you hit on it quite a bit about the sale of a valuable asset. This turnpike runs these counties up in northeast West Ohio, and the question I might ask is, we know after we privatized prisons in the state that they haven't saved us any money, the privatization has. And I would ask you the question, you've asked a number of them, is that why can't the state make some money? You know, that's a profitable asset, and why can't we make the profit? Yeah, and I might ask another question is, how about, you might have heard this before, how about making I-71 a toll from Cincinnati up here to Cleveland?
Okay.
That
yeah, there's 2 questions. First of all, it is a valuable asset, and the option of taking it over, selling bonds against the revenue is an option. not one that we're going to overlook. We need the legislation to allow us to even do that. Our preference is at least because of the upfront money that we desperately need. But we certainly are going to look at that option, and whatever looks to be the best thing for the state of Ohio, and particularly for northern Ohio in terms of the disposition of the turnpike, that's what we're going to do. So all options are on the table, including the one you mentioned. In terms of the toll roads, and we have our distinguished federal administrator here, Lori Loeffler, and she will tell you that we don't have the authority to toll existing lanes. So if there's already a lane there that's been paid for with federal money, we don't have the authority to toll it. So that's the answer to that question. The answer to your question, what I think I hear you saying is, why don't you toll some roads in the rest of the state? And the answer is, we're going to. We desperately need a new bridge in Cincinnati called the Brent Spence Bridge. I don't see, it's in excess of a $2 billion project. There's absolutely no way we can build that bridge unless we find some new revenue. And tolls looks like at least one of the first options we have. We're looking at adding lanes on some of our interstate and creating what we call high occupancy lanes or truck only lanes. And anywhere where we're adding capacity from this point forward, tolling will be an option. Well, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, not you. I'm not. Oh, okay.
Director, as someone who's who voted for 3 different gas taxes, but I like to call them user fees, I understand what you're saying about the inability to take care of everybody's wants, and we really got to look at everybody's needs. And I think a lot of our needs are just fix it first needs. Are there enough resources to fix the stuff that's existing that needs to be fixed? And is there any thought about looking down the road as people obviously are driving less and their mileage per gallon is going up, to look at either gas tax or license plate or driver's license fees, because they are users fees, to just help deal with some of the infrastructure repair that we need to do.
Another 2 questions, I think. Regarding the fix it first, our mission statement is going to say something along the, if I get this right, our mission is to provide the easy movement of people and goods from place to place. In order to do that, we will take care of what we have, we will make our system work better, we will improve safety and enhance capacity. So the answer is yes, we are going to take care of what we have. Depending upon the funding situation, we could be in a crisis in 2013 and beyond to just take care of what we have. And you could actually see a situation where the infrastructure, the transportation infrastructure, is falling into disrepair. We're going to try not to let that happen. That does leave the possibility that badly needed projects to improve safety, to enhance capacity, to provide economic development opportunities will have to go without being done. Your second question has to do with the funding. We're going to do some study. Several states have done vehicle mile travel studies, and we're going to do something in Ohio. I think Washington, and I'm not sure. There's several states that have already looked into this, and we intend to look into it. AASHTO has in their position paper on the Reauthorization Act, I think 14 different possible options relative to transportation funding. And it's pretty, some of them are pretty, it's vehicle mile traveled. Some of them involve a tax on truck tires, saying that the more you drive, you wear out your tires, you're using the highway, so we ought to pay more taxes on truck. So there's a wide variety of things being discussed. There's an awareness that the gas tax is a little bit obsolete in terms of, it served us well for decades and decades, but it's not going to work completely into the future. So yes, there are a lot of people looking at that and talking about it. The problem comes when you go to the legislature or the Congress and say, let's do it. Again, everybody has an association and a lobbyist. Thank you.